The film, released in 2025, doesn't just feature fast zombies. These creatures are so swift they can chase down a speeding airplane within minutes. And that's not all. Some of them have evolved to be dangerously intelligent. They can track enemies from miles away using their heightened sense of smell and are capable of tearing down even the strongest human fortresses. No more waiting. Let's dive right into the story. A young boy is watching cartoons at home when suddenly the TV signal cuts out. Breaking news flashes on the screen. An unknown virus has spread across the world, turning infected people into terrifying zombies within minutes. The virus is spreading at lightning speed, and many cities have already fallen. As the boy watches in fear, he hears a sudden noise upstairs. Cautiously, he goes to check, only to find it was just his older sister playing a prank. Right then, they get a video call from their father, who's away on duty. He urgently tells his wife and children to leave the city immediately and head to their relative's house because the zombie outbreak has reached their town. Little Abby smiles as she spots the lucky bracelet she made on her dad's wrist during the call. Meanwhile, their mother quickly packs up essentials, trying not to waste a single second. Outside, the sound of screams grows louder. She grabs the kids and rushes them toward the car, but just as they're about to get in, a zombie attacks and grabs the mother. Abby dives under the car, trembling, as she watches her little brother get killed before her eyes. Terrified, she soon sees her mother, now turned into a zombie, staggering toward her. At that desperate moment, gunshots ring out. A stranger, an older man, arrives like a guardian angel, saving Abby. He tells her to cover her ears as he finishes off her now zombified little brother. Fast forward 10 years, the world as we know it has collapsed. Once glorious cities now lie in ruins, swallowed by nature. Abby has grown into a fierce survivor, trained by the man who saved her, Cassius. After years of living in the wilderness, Abby dreams of finding a human settlement, a place where she can belong. But to Cassius, the safest future lies on a deserted island, far away from the mainland. Then one night, Cassius is awakened by the blaring sound of an alarm outside. Grabbing his weapon, he steps cautiously out of his tent, when suddenly, from the darkness, a zombie leaps out of the darkness and attacks. But Cassius reacts swiftly, emptying his gun into the creature until it drops dead. Both Cassius and Abby stand in heavy silence. They know zombies rarely roam alone. Where there's one, there are usually many. With no time to waste, they hurriedly pack up their supplies, preparing to leave before sunrise. But just then, their horses begin to whinny nervously. Cassius tenses. Danger is near. Scanning the horizon, they spot a jeep surrounded by zombies. Cassius hesitates, wanting to stay out of it, but Abby impulsively fires her gun, drawing the horde's attention. With no choice, Cassius joins in, and together they take down the zombies. As they approach the jeep to scavenge supplies, Cassius snatches a pair of boots from a fallen man. But as soon as he slips them on, a voice crackles through the jeep's walkie-talkie. The dead men had companions nearby. Cassius's instincts scream to leave immediately, but before they can move, several SUVs barrel toward them, packed with armed strangers. Tensions rise as the group finds the stolen boots, assuming Cassius and Abby killed their friends. Just as things threaten to spiral, a pregnant woman steps out of one of the vehicles, calming her group and insisting they let Abby and Cassius go. But before anyone can relax, the black horse whinnies a warning, and a thunderous roar echoes from the forest. Within seconds, a tidal wave of zombies crashes toward the valley. There's no time to flee. The only option is to fight. Among the zombies is a female with eerie intelligence, observing the battle like a strategist. Chaos erupts. People fall one by one. A large, muscular man is bitten, out of bullets. He tries to end his own life, but the gun clicks empty. Abby, acting fast, shoves the pregnant woman into the jeep while Cassius covers them, finally taking down the calculating zombie woman. Driving at breakneck speed, Cassius bursts through the wall of undead. Meanwhile, a black-skinned zombie stumbles upon the fallen smart zombie and lets out a heart-wrenching cry, as if mourning a lost love. Safely away, Cassius learns from the survivors that they were headed to a place called Shipton, a floating refuge built from massive connected ships far from the infected mainland. Abby's heart soars. This is the place she's been dreaming of. They set off toward Shipton, but halfway there, the vehicle breaks down. The pregnant woman's husband, David, introduces himself and reveals he's a mechanic. But lacking spare parts, he can't fix the jeep. Left with no choice, the group decides to continue on foot. As they trek over the hills, they reach Abby's hometown, now a ghost city of towering buildings and eerie silence. Cassius scouts a partially open building, declaring it safe for the night. They build a fire, cook a meal, and finally breathe. Abby is bursting with questions about Shipton. The pregnant woman explains that she already made radio contact with them. As the name suggests, Shipton is a floating city, a sanctuary built by linking several massive ships, untouchable from land. That's why Shipton is considered the safest place left. There's plenty of food, water, and shelter. To Abby, it sounds like a dream come true. But Cassius remains skeptical. To him, big groups mean big risks. That night, after setting up traps and alarms around their camp, Cassius explains his plan. He'll escort Megan and David part of the way, then split off to reach a distant port on his own. Abby is upset. She sneaks over to argue with Cassius, pleading with him to come with them to Shipton, but Cassius stays firm. "Where there are people," he says calmly, "there's danger." Abby, frustrated and confused, storms off to spend the night alone on the roof. Neither of them knows that the black-faced zombie has already tracked them. It's sniffed out their abandoned Jeep and is leading its horde straight toward them. The next morning, as Abby flips through old childhood photos, a faint rustling sound drifts up from the trees. Her eyes widen. They're here. She rushes downstairs to warn the others, but halfway down, zombies block her path. Quick on her feet, she dodges and escapes, but loses her balance in the chaos. Just then, Cassius appears, saving her yet again. Moments later, the black-faced zombie and its pack arrive, but they stumble into Cassius's traps. Explosions rip through the air as Cassius realizes the horde is after them now. Suddenly, Abby remembers something, a small private airstrip nearby. Her father used to take her there when she was little. Maybe, just maybe, a plane is still there. Cassius doubts it, but Abby's determination convinces him. Sure enough, after a short hike, they reach the abandoned airstrip. But disappointment sets in fast. It's empty, just an open stretch of cracked runway. Abby refuses to give up. Digging through her memories, she recalls a hidden hangar her father once bought. Together, they pry open the old doors, and inside, covered in dust, sits her father's small private plane. Abby beams with pride. She was right, but the plane hasn't flown in years. David, the mechanic, immediately begins repairs, while Cassius and Abby climb a nearby building to stand guard. Their break is short-lived. In the distance, a massive swarm of zombies barrels toward them. Cassius rushes down to warn Megan and David. "You've got 3 minutes. Ready or not, we're taking off." On the runway, Abby takes a deep breath. Trusting her fading memories, she manages to get the engine roaring to life. But by now, the zombies have reached the edge of the runway, running like athletes, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Just then, Cassius shoots down a climbing zombie, and Abby finally gains full control of the plane, flying it smoothly into the sky. The dark-faced zombie king looks up toward the heavens, and in his eyes flicker a storm of mixed emotions: anger, grief, longing. Inside the plane, everyone breathes a sigh of relief. They're on their way to Shiptown. Safety is within reach, but that hope is short-lived. Suddenly, smoke starts pouring from the back of the aircraft. Before anyone can react, the plane begins to nosedive. Luckily, fate spares them. The plane wasn't flying too high, and after several rough crashes and skids, it slows down just enough to avoid a fatal impact. All 4 survive with minor injuries, but the plane is wrecked beyond repair. They have no choice now. They must continue on foot. Hours later, they arrive at an abandoned railway station. The area seems clear of zombies, so Cassius decides it's safe enough to spend the night there. Shiptown and the harbor lie beyond the mountains, and they'll only be together for a short while longer. That night, David steps away quietly after spending some time with his pregnant wife. In a dark corner of a train car, he lifts his pant leg to reveal a horrifying secret: the blackened scar of a zombie bite. He was bitten days ago, and now he knows it's only a matter of time. He pulls out his gun, ready to end it before he turns into a monster. But as he thinks about the woman carrying his child, his hands tremble, and he lowers the weapon. By morning, Cassius senses something's off. He catches a glimpse of David's leg and confirms his worst fear: a zombie bite. But with Abby urging him to keep moving, he holds back from doing what must be done, at least for now. As night falls again, the group stumbles upon a secluded farmhouse. Cassius approaches carefully, weapon drawn. Suddenly, a voice booms through a speaker, a warning. But once Abby explains they mean no harm and they're traveling with a pregnant woman, the suspicion melts away. The old man who owns the home asks them to surrender their weapons, then welcomes them in with surprising warmth. The house runs on solar power and harvested rainwater. For the first time in days, Abby gets a hot shower. They all enjoy a comforting dinner. Cassius charges his laptop and gazes at photos of his wife, especially one of her during pregnancy. After a long pause, he approaches Megan and tells her he's changed his mind. He'll take her to Shiptown first, before continuing the search for Abby's harbor. Then, the old man brings out a bottle of liquor, inviting them all to drink. For the first time in what feels like forever, they sit together and share quiet conversation. But something feels off. As they talk, the old man reveals his true thoughts. According to him, zombies aren't a curse. They're the next step in human evolution, the ultimate predators, destined to rule the earth. Just like humans once hunted other animals out of greed, now it's their turn. The room falls silent. Only David breaks away, feeling suddenly sicker than ever. He stumbles to the bathroom, his body nearly overtaken by the infection. When he returns to the hall, his vision blurs. Cassius and the others are unconscious. Before he can react, the old man presses a button on a device in his hand, and David collapses to the ground, overwhelmed by a wave of weakness. When David finally wakes up, he finds himself and the others hanging, literally strung up. The truth hits him hard. The old man had laced the alcohol with sedatives. And he is no ordinary survivor. He's a scientist, one who has spent years in hiding, working on a special device that can emit low-frequency signals. The scientist proudly explains that his device can control zombie behavior using low-frequency signals, and Cassius and his friends are nothing more than lab rats in his grand experiment. With a twisted grin, he unlocks the cage at the back of the room. Inside is his wife, Long, turned into a zombie. He turns the dial on his device, and right before their eyes, the zombie charges straight at Cassius, fully under the device's control. But just as all seems lost, David, driven by the virus coursing through his body, breaks free from his restraints with superhuman strength. Not only does he ignore the device's control, but he also rescues Cassius and the others. Sensing danger, the scientist flees into the darkness, disappearing without a trace. Cassius knows they can't stay any longer. He finds a vehicle outside, and they all speed off into the dense forest. But the nightmare isn't over. The scientist, unwilling to accept defeat, uses his device to command an entire horde of zombies to hunt them down. Cassius drives faster and faster, but the road ends abruptly. With no way forward, their only option is to escape on bikes. David, knowing his time is running out, chooses to stay behind. After a heartfelt goodbye to his wife, he courageously charges into the swarm of zombies, sacrificing himself to buy the others just a little more time. Cassius carries Megan in his arms, fighting his way back. Just as the zombies are about to overrun them, they spot a checkpoint up ahead. Human guards on alert. Abby realizes what this means. They've made it. This is Shiptown. The guards open fire, mowing down the advancing zombies. The dark-faced zombie king halts his forces. Beyond this point lies water, a boundary they can't cross. Soon, Cassius and the others are ferried to the center of the floating camp. Megan is in labor, and the medical team rushes her in. Thankfully, the camp has doctors and emergency care. The next morning, Cassius and Abby explore the camp. It's an incredible sight, massive ships connected together to form a floating platform, isolated from land. They meet the camp's commander, who warmly welcomes them, but with strict rules. Without hesitation, Cassius turns away. He believes isolation on an empty island is still safer, but Abby doesn't agree. She longs to live among people her own age, to feel normal again. The disagreement escalates into a bitter fight. Right then, the doctor arrives with news. Megan has given birth to a baby girl, but due to severe blood loss, Megan may not survive. Heart sinking, Cassius rushes to the hospital room. Megan, now weak and fading fast, places the baby in his arms. She wants her daughter to grow up strong, like Abby. Cassius, haunted by memories of his late wife, nods tearfully. He knows his life has changed forever. Meanwhile, Abby explores the camp. For the first time in her life, she feels free, dancing to music, laughing with others, and enjoying a sense of normalcy. She never imagined people could still drink, sing, and celebrate like this in a world overrun by death. Her desire to stay only grows stronger, but her joy is short-lived. Later that night, Abby spots the handsome boy she'd been spending time with sneak into a cabin. Curious, she follows. Inside, she finds something terrifying. The room is packed with explosives and wires. A glowing wireless switch blinks ominously in the corner. The boy rushes in, startled, and confesses the truth. Shiptown is wired with bombs. If the camp ever falls under attack, everyone will evacuate through secret routes and then blow it all up. They both laugh nervously, thinking that day might never come, but they have no idea how soon it will. The vengeful scientist isn't done yet. He joins forces with the dark-faced zombie king, handing over his control device. With the scientist's help, even the water defenses of Shiptown prove useless. Soon, swarms of zombies begin infiltrating the floating camp, some by boat, others from beneath the surface. And then, the real horror begins. As zombies storm Shiptown, chaos breaks loose. Many people are killed instantly. Those without a place to hide become nothing more than zombie food. Amidst the panic, Cassius is frantic. He can't find Abby. Instead of running with the others, he charges in the opposite direction, cutting down zombies in his path to search for her. At last, he spots her, fighting bravely on the deck. But in the heat of the moment, Abby loses her footing and crashes into a zombie, tumbling to the ground. And just then, the scientist appears. This is his moment of revenge. But Cassius refuses to give up. He grabs the scientist's arm and slams it hard. The weak control device shatters instantly. Without the device's signal, the zombies turn on their former master. In seconds, the old man is torn apart, Luckily, the camp had an emergency escape tunnel. Many survivors rush through it, escaping across the river. Just as they're about to detonate the bombs, the handsome boy from earlier yells, "Wait! Abby's still on the ship." Meanwhile, Cassius delivers one final blow, using a paddle to strike the dark-faced zombie king. As Abby runs, she notices something strange, a bracelet on the zombie's wrist. Could it be? Wasn't that the same bracelet she made for her father? But there's no time to think. Cassius grabs her and pulls her into the escape tunnel. The handsome boy, seeing them safely enter, presses the wireless remote. Boom! In a fiery inferno, Shiptown is obliterated. But the battle isn't over yet. The camp commander stumbles out of the smoke, clutching his neck, bitten by a zombie. And somehow, the dark-faced zombie king survived the explosion. Cassius rushes to confront him. Abby picks up a gun from the ground. She freezes. Her eyes widen. The zombie king is her father, but he's trying to kill the man who raised her, the man who protected her when the world fell apart. And in that moment, Abby makes her choice. She pulls the trigger. One final shot. The king falls. He is her father no longer. As silence settles, Cassius leads the remaining survivors across the sea, toward a distant, deserted island. There, they decide to start again. A new home, a new hope. And now, we know, the zombie woman Cassius killed long ago. She was Abby's mother. Maybe it was all coincidence, maybe fate. But one thing is certain, this story was never just about survival. It was about family, sacrifice, and the painful truth hidden in the ruins of the old world.